This seemingly benign-looking nun is the very definition of a wolf in sheep's clothing. Her name is Mariam Solakaitis, or the Unholy Mother Rasputin. She was the leader of a nightmarish cult-like monastery. She preyed on rich women seeking God, and under the guise of religion would torture them until they signed over their worldly possessions. She amassed a fortune of 300 houses in Greece alone. When the police were finally tipped off by a victim's daughter, they raided her monastery and found malnourished elderly women tied up in a tuberculosis-infested basement. In total, Mariam was responsible for over 175 plus deaths.
Surgery in the 1800s was fucking insane. Literally no anesthesia, no fucking drugs. You was awake while motherfuckers was chopping you up. One of the professional choppers, Robert Liston, was literally one of the fastest surgeons, which is good because you obviously want that shit to be over with fast. One day he was working so fast on a patient that he accidentally cut off 2 of his assistant's fingers. Both the patient and his assistant later died of gangrene. Oh, that's not all. Also, during the procedure, he accidentally swiped his blade past one of the elderly doctor's coats. The elderly doctor thought he was cut and literally went into shock and had a heart attack. So this motherfucker literally killed 3 people trying to save 1.
This is why you should be scared of that one person you're talking to online that you're about to meet in real life. Blanca Arellano, a 51-year-old Mexican woman, was looking for love. She met a Peruvian man named Juan Villafuerte on an online gaming app. And on the last day of October, she traveled 3,000 miles to Lima, Peru to meet him. She thought that he could be the one. On November 7th, while in the beach city of Huacho, where Villafuerte lived, Blanca spoke to her niece on the phone and told her that the relationship was going well and that she was in love. Then she went silent. Her niece suspected something was wrong after not being able to get into contact with her. She called for help on Twitter and reached out to Juan Villafuerte, who said that Blanca got bored of him and left to find a plane ticket back to Mexico, as he could not provide the life she wanted. But the truth was much, much darker. On November 10th, Peruvian authorities found a severed finger on the beach of Huacho. Then in the following days, they found a faceless head, and then an arm, and then a torso with no organs inside of it. They eventually identified Blanca Arellano via her family by the ring on her finger. Juan Villafuerte was arrested on charges of human organs trafficking. Authorities found traces of blood all over his apartment, and he reportedly posted TikTok videos of human organs days after Blanca's disappearance.
Sorry. You're an adult, correct? Juvenile and juvenile, correct? Am I right? Mm-hmm. You two are under 18 and you're 18. You're all going to be booked with first-degree premeditated murder. You two will go to the Juvenile Assessment Center. You will go to the Marion County Jail. Okay? Take a deep breath. You'll have no bond. You won't be getting out.
How many years?
Oh, honey, this is not... Listen to me. Everybody just take a deep breath.
Well, since we really didn't do anything.
No. See, but you did. First of all, let's get over that hump right now, okay? That we really didn't do anything because... Everybody's complicit here. A person died. A person was murdered. Okay? We all knew about it. We all planned it. We were all involved in getting it done. So let's hop that hurdle first. Okay? Let's man up to the fact that, damn it, this was a pretty heinous crime and we all had something to do with it. Now we got to deal with what will happen to us from that. Okay?
Yeah, well, it was like the fact, I know I was scared because I had a gun and
you know what? Stop it. Do you think we haven't been listening to everything you guys have been saying in here? Are you that stupid, really?
I know.
And just stop. Because I don't even... Lying to me just makes me just... Ugh, I hate it.
I wasn't lying.
Oh, yeah, you were. You lied about a few things.
These are pictures with the most disturbing backstories, part 1. This is Halianja Chube, also known as Miss Pac-Man. And on October 29th, 2018, she was brutally murdered in her own bed. Her husband took a machete to her head, completely mutilating her. and dividing her face in two, hence the name Miss Pac-Man. But the most disturbing thing about this whole case is that the video of the murder is going viral on Reddit and other streaming services. But I do not recommend watching it because it is absolutely gut-turning. You can see Alejandra with her face cut in two and her body cut, with an unimaginable amount of blood around her. And the entire time she was crying out for help and the neighbors heard her, but nobody came to her aid until her husband Mario left. The neighbors then came over and they were the ones who actually took the video. Alejandra was lying there in pain for 30 minutes, and this is the kind of pain you can never imagine. And the neighbors described her as just wailing for 30 minutes until she died. When her husband Mario fled, he did try to go to Mexico, but he was unsuccessful. The authorities did capture him and arrest him. And this sick man is still on trial for his crimes. And the most messed up part is, even though he confessed to what he did, he still tried to blame Alejandra and said it was all her fault, believing she was having an affair, but that was never proven.
We go to this nightclub, this like really dope nightclub in Beijing, and this girl named Rose is coming up to me, and she was not Chinese, she was an American college student. And she's like, I need you to pretend to be my boyfriend because these guys keep bothering me. And I'm like, okay, boo, full act. She sits in my lap, kiss her on the cheek, she kissed me on the lips. This dude comes up and he sees all this, and I'm like, this is my girlfriend, dog, like, can you please stop harassing her because I'm gonna get upset. He was like, oh, no disrespect. And I was like, all right, cool, just fuck, you know? And then eventually, I haven't seen Rose in a minute. And I just happen to look over my shoulder and I literally see 4 people, her body completely lifted off the ground, her legs flailing. They're like passing the threshold where you're going around the corner. So I just see her feet go around the corner and I just like sprang into action basically. Vaults over the couch. Right outside, I see 6 people, 4 men, 2 women, dragging this girl off the ground into this van with Chinese drivers in the middle of the night. Like literally this is right outside the club. And at this point I had my military ID and I'm like, you need to stop and let her go, causing a commotion. They start arguing and they're like still kind of going, but now they're arguing, they're moving slower. Some of them are like, who the f is this guy? And the other ones are like, no, we can't. So I'm like, yo, I'm gonna call the US embassy right now. If you don't drop her, all of y'all gonna go to jail. And then they were beefing about it, you know, and eventually they was like, f it. And so they took off, the band takes off, and I go talk to this girl who's up. She's drunk as f. Calm her down enough to realize she doesn't know where she lives. She has only her dress, not even any underwear, no bra, no phone, no identification. In China, that's a recipe for disaster anywhere. Women like that could be sold for anywhere from like $15,000 to $46,000. People continuously making money off of that. So those people were finna just probably sell her to some Chinese or Russian dude, get a little over 10 grand and split it. Like some really disgusting shit. But that happens a lot. In America, it's like ground zero for young children, especially little girls being trafficked.
911, what's the location of the emergency?
My daughter is missing.
What's your address, ma'am?
She's gone. We can't find her anywhere. I've called all her friends.
How old is she?
11.
Okay, what's her name, ma'am?
Carly, C-A-R-L-I-E.
And last name?
Brucia, B-R-U-C-I-A.
The footage you just watched shows the last known moments of 11-year-old Carly Brucia as she was abducted in broad daylight by a violent predator. Despite being reported missing by her parents within half an hour of her disappearance, Carly's case would ultimately go down in history as one of the most depraved crimes against a young girl. It all started on January 31st, 2004. Carly had spent the night at a friend's house, but the following day was Super Bowl Sunday, so she wanted to get back home in time to watch the game. She told her friend's mother that she was allowed to make the walk back home on her own and departed around 6 p.m. However, after she left, the concerned parent reached out to Carly's mother, Susan, and informed her that Carly was walking the mile back home alone. Susan said she didn't feel comfortable with her daughter walking even just a few blocks alone, so she sent her husband and Carly's stepfather, Steve Kanzler, to find Carly and drive her the rest of the way home. However, as Steve went up and down the route Carly would have walked, he couldn't find her anywhere, and that's when the nightmare really began. Steve continued to drive around for over an hour, praying that he had somehow simply missed Carly, but when he returned home and she still wasn't there, it became clear that something was seriously wrong. Susan later said of this moment that she instantly felt something terrible had happened to Carly, saying, "In my heart, in my mind, I knew." Susan and Steve left the house together to search again, shouting Carly's name out the car window as they drove down the road. They stopped briefly to investigate a wooded area and noticed a red tow truck drive slowly by them. Then they continued retracing Carly's steps and went to her friend's house to check there. And much to their surprise, they saw the same red truck parked out front. It struck them both as very odd, and upon realizing that Carly wasn't there either, Susan decided it was time to call for help. The frantic mother dialed 911 around 7:30 that evening. She couldn't hide the absolute terror in her voice.
911, what's the location of the emergency?
My daughter is missing.
What's your address, ma'am? And your phone number? Okay. Has she been missing before?
No, she had a fight with her girlfriend. She decided to walk home, and we've been driving around for about an hour and a half. And it's now an hour and a half walk. She's gone. We can't find her anywhere. I've called all her friends.
How old is she?
11.
And when was the last time that she was seen?
It was at 6 o'clock, Gene. Around 6 o'clock.
And she was at a friend's house?
Yeah.
Okay, what's her name, ma'am?
Carly, Carlie.
And last name?
Brucia, Brucia. She's just shy of 5 feet.
Okay. Do you know how much she weighs?
She's over 120 pounds.
Okay, what color hair does she have?
Dirty blonde.
And what color eyes?
Blue.
Following the heartbreaking call, police immediately issued a BOLO, or Be on the Lookout alert for Carly, and searched the surrounding area for 4.5 hours, but found nothing. Meanwhile, Carly's family and friends got to work creating missing persons flyers with her face on them, and they began handing them out the next morning. But something happened during this time that struck a few people as suspicious. Carly's stepfather, Steve, allegedly visited a local equipment rental business to hand out flyers and asked one of the employees if he could purchase drugs in a couple of days after this whole thing blew over. The employee thought it was a very odd thing to say when his stepdaughter was missing, so he contacted the authorities. Detectives also felt that something was off with Steve, so they brought him in for questioning. He stated that he'd been at home the entire time with Susan, which she was able to corroborate. After fully verifying his alibi, he was cleared as a suspect, but Steve did offer them another name, Ron Choquette. Ron was the owner of the red tow truck, and he'd apparently been dating the mother of Carly's friend for 2 months. He was home the night Carly slept over, and at one point, he was the only adult present. So naturally, Steve informed police about how he'd noticed Ron's red truck driving suspiciously around the area they were searching. Investigators followed up with the lead and spoke with Ron, but he told them he'd left for work before Carly left the residence and that he didn't see anything out of the ordinary. Moreover, his co-workers verified his whereabouts.